Do you have close male friends who are gay?
No, I would probably have one right that came to mind if I did. No, I don't.
So it feels to me like listening to the way you guys talk about it that you guys, anytime there's a possibility of sexual or romantic attraction, you guys instantly put up a wall because it could turn into a threat down the line. Is that fair to say?
Honestly, that's not a thought that's ever crossed my mind.
It's not intentional.
You can say what you want. I don't know that's ever actually happened.
There's something special and significant about exclusivity in a relationship.
I would agree with that. I think it's difficult to go, at least for me, who likes to hide, who takes a very long time to develop friendships, relationships, and then when I do, then I'm loyal to a fault. The exclusivity is so important, but it takes time, and in order to go deep, I need to know that like he's there, that I'm secure, I can feel safe with him, I can be seen. To share that with that part of me with another person, it feels very scary, no matter what I think the feelings that could be there. It feels, and maybe that's just my experience and my own perspective, but I have found so much freedom and redemption in our marriage, in what it means to love, to be loved exclusively, to be known in such a deep way. So to share that with another person would be really, really challenging for me, I think.
Do you have close female friends?
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys do you talk about like things within your marriage? Like if you were struggling with Ryan or going through a rough patch, like would you talk to some of them about it?
Yes.
Do you have close male friends?
No.
Okay. I figured, but I thought I'd ask it first. Like, do you feel like the intimacy of those friendships, like, if you had to put it what is it equal to what you have with Ryan? Is it 80% of what you have with Ryan? Is it at times maybe more than what you have with Ryan? Or like, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think with the relationship of female to female, versus being married, there are some things that I think females understand about each other in a way that he may not. Some of the struggles that I face, plus we're all just human and we have our own weaknesses, and so sometimes I can express them in a way to my good girlfriends, and they can kind of see more than I can see, and so therefore they can offer more advice and more encouragement, or more of, hey, you're not seeing this right, Selena, like let's work through this because you're bringing this up again and I don't think it's right. And so having that honesty there, but I think the level that I strive for is 100% with both. I don't know if that answers your question.
It does. Well, I feel like you guys are kind of bracing as if I'm going somewhere with the questions, or I'm really not. I'm just curious. Like, do you have like any queer friends or gay or bisexual like female friends?
I don't know.
I was actually curious about that too.
I don't think female. No, I have. Not currently, but I did in my past in California. My brother is gay, and so I love him, and we talk, and we have a good relationship. And some of I had a lot of coworkers that were gay, and honestly, they were some of the best people I worked with. So,
But so it feels like you guys have these rules. Like, to be clear, like I agree that there's something different about exclusivity in a relationship. I understand that. I'm not really like, I don't think that there's obviously debating that, but I don't have any issue with that statement. Like, I'm just curious, like, because it feels like, so like, do you have any close female friends?
Other than my mom?
No, yeah, that's
my
not
daughters.
My
wife.
Matt.
No, yeah.
Like people who you could, if you had never met your wife, could be a romantic partner for you.
Oh man, I've never thought about it. Well, I'll rephrase that, okay? Because I don't want to sound. This is going to sound weird.
Yeah.
It's occurred to me because of again, looking at love the way we've talked about.
Yeah.
Love is it's a very wonderful thing to experience subjectively, but it's also an objective truth that we step into and we act on. It occurred to me that Selena could probably have married a number of men and still had a very happy life with him.
Or women. Stunning.
I could have married a number of women who, we shared the same value system and we could carve out a life together. But this is where we are. And so this is where exclusivity is. And so in that vein, no, I've never had close female friends.
Because you see them as it could turn into something unethical.
No,
or against
so
the
to be clear,
rules
I have female friends. I just wouldn't say they're close friends. They're nowhere
Yeah.
near the male friendships that I have and the level of closeness that I have with those guys. So
As a means of loving one another and honoring one another and protecting what we have, what God's given us.
But well, I guess this would depend on your own sexuality, but do you have close male friends who are gay?
no, I would probably have one right that came to mind if I did. No, I
Yeah.
don't.
So it feels to me like listening to the way you guys talk about it that you guys, anytime there's a possibility of sexual or romantic attraction, you guys instantly put up a wall because it could turn into a threat down the line. Is that fair to say?
Honestly, that's not a thought that's ever crossed my mind.
It's not intentional.
You can say what you want. I don't know that's ever actually happened because, if there's a woman in my life that a friend of ours, a mutual friend, when I see her and I talk to her, my whole focus is to see her as somebody who, like we've talked about, is somebody who is valuable, who's made in the image of God, who's worth respect. And to me, the greatest respect I can give to that woman is to honor her relationship with her husband and to honor her husband in how I treat and speak with her.
Do you all have single friends?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not devaluing, so with your single female friends, there's no husband to consider.
Yeah.
No.
So I worked with a gal. She worked for me for 5-6 years, and I told Selena many times, she's like a sister to me.
Okay.
And so
She's like one of my best friends.
And she, more than anyone else, would push back in work-wise in decisions, and it drove me nuts like a sister might. And I valued her friendship very much, and to this day, we still do value that friendship.
And if you were setting her up with, let's say she's single and you're setting her up on a blind date with a friend, and your friend's like, come on, man, I don't want to go out with some ugly girl. Is she good looking? Tell me what she looks like. Is she hot? What would you say?
I would say that she would be an attractive person. Yeah.
So is she objectively attractive?
I think so. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, I think she's objectively attractive. She's
I
got her
think
life
she's-
together.
I think she's beautiful.
Let me throw a different hypothetical at you. Sorry if I'm doing all this. I just love all these hypotheticals.
I have one thing to add.
Okay, we'll get on to a more serious thing, but
I'm enjoying
let's say you two have plans to go have dinner with what's this woman's name?
I hope she doesn't care that I say her name, Shannon.
Okay, so you guys have plans to have dinner with Shannon, and you and Shannon are already at the restaurant. All of a sudden, you get a call from Selena, and you're like, babe, you know what? I feel terrible. I'm not going to make it. What happens to the dinner? You guys have dinner together? Or are you listen, I can't, this is now wrong. I have to leave.
I don't think there's any moral objection to that, not within what we would agree to ethically. But I still wouldn't do it simply because
I don't think Shannon.
I don't think she would be comfortable with that.
She would.
And I don't think Selena would be comfortable with that. Not because she doesn't trust Shannon, but because it's just weird to be out with another woman when I'm a married man.
I would
And
feel
optics
bad
are
for
a thing
both of
too.
them.
Optics are a thing, even though we don't live for those. But still, it's
Yeah. But is any part of you guys disappointed that these are people that you care about and you feel close to, but you can't really know them? And I'm leaving any kind of sexual or romantic thing out of it. There are experiences you can't share with these people because of optics.
Hey friends, Greg here with Honest Discourse. We hope that you're enjoying this conversation. We are so excited for it to continue. But first, a brief message from our sponsor.
Hey friends, Pastor Matt here with Central Church. This episode of Honest Discourse is brought to you by Central Church in Collierville, Tennessee. Central Church got behind this discussion because we really believe that this is what our world needs more of. We desperately need more understanding, more loving conversations with Christ at the center. And Central Church is a Bible-teaching, Bible-believing church in Collierville, Tennessee. We exist to multiply and to mature disciples of Jesus Christ, to produce Christ-centered relationships. And so we want to just put that offer out to you. If you're ever in the area, we sure would love to meet you. Drop by Collierville, Tennessee, and see what God is doing at Central Church. God bless. Hope to meet you in person.
A huge thank you to Central Church for sponsoring this episode. Now back to the conversation.
So this comes back around to the idea of exclusivity, and maybe I'll start asking you some questions. And where exclusivity comes from.
Yeah.
So you asked me to define love, or you said you use love to define love, so that's not going to work. And so the first thing that comes to mind is selflessness. Would you agree that selflessness is an aspect of love?
Yeah.
Sure, but one of Blaze and I's favorite quotes is the Walt Whitman thing where he's like, I contain multitudes. Because on some sense, it's selfless to love your wife. But in another sense, like you said at the very beginning of this, like we all have that deep need for human connection and that deep desire to be seen and understood by somebody. And the best way to do that is to love somebody unconditionally. So by you selflessly loving your wife, you're also pursuing what is fundamentally like a selfish, like innate desire.
I've struggled with that a lot. And so Aristotle and Kant have very different views of ethical outworkings of that exact conundrum. If I want to do something, does that make it innately selfish if it's a good and altruistic thing? And I would say that we can't escape that. So we are called to love in a selfless way. Now, when I love my wife selflessly, yes, I do get satisfaction from that. But that means that I actually do love her selflessly. So, and this is maybe the question or maybe a statement that I would say and ask you to respond to it. How can I love someone completely selflessly? If I've abandoned myself to loving them, they are the object of my affection, my devotion, my desire. While also saying, but there's still 10% of me that I'm going to love this person with. Because I do love you for all of you, but you don't actually meet my needs as much as I need. So now I'm going to take this 10%, I'm going to go over here. And if you want to continue loving me and be in this relationship with me, I'm going to need you to be okay with that. In other words, I'm going to need you to consent to that. And she loves me so much that she might say yes. And I'm effectively weaponizing her consent so that I can get what I want, because I'm saying to her that she's not enough for me. And to me, that drives against the whole spirit of love, which is selflessness. And so exclusivity, I mean, that's where it comes in. That's why it's so special, particularly in a monogamous relationship, that there's no one else that will enter into this equation. Now, we will have people that we are close with, but it will never be this. Categorically, my guy friends, categorically it's different.
Do you know what I'm going to come back with, what metaphor money is right now?
No.
Okay. So you have 3 kids, you're expecting another. When the 4th one's born, are you going to sit your 3 kids down and say, sorry kids, like I know you were getting 33% of my love, but now you're only going to get 25%. Is that how you conceive of it?
No, not at all, because I do agree with what Blaze said about love as a continual, like there's more than enough to go around. I would say I agree with that, with the exception of with romantic relationships.
Why?
Because okay, so Selena, I love you, and I've chosen to love you selflessly. And you can, in a very real sense, you can demand that from me, because you're saying to me on our wedding day, I'm going to love you too, selflessly. So if I say that to her and I give her all of myself, but then one day I come to her and say, you know what, there's this close friend that I'm realizing that you don't actually fulfill all my sexual needs. Because really that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about like...
No,
absolutely
I
not.
would agree with that.
Romantic emotional needs, romantic sexual needs. Are those 2 categories sound? Are there other categories I'm missing?
Sure,
Like
just go ahead with...
I'm very concrete. So
that's fine. You can go with that framing.
Well, how is that going to make my wife feel when I've told her within our covenant, I'm going to love you with everything that I am, except for this little part? And here's the thing. So I'm going to take that and I say, okay, I love you, but today you're not actually on the menu. This is horrible verbiage, but effectively, today is not a day that I can feel loved by you. So I'm going to find another way to be loved. Here's the thing, is when I do that, I'm not only robbing her of my full devotion, but I'm actually robbing myself of the entire experience of love. Because as long as I feel like I'm holding back just even a sliver of myself, 1%, 0.1%, I'll always think, and maybe not at the front of my mind, and we've been here and we can talk about some of our own transparency within our own marriage, but I'll always think that, yes, I know Selena loves me, I know this, but I don't know this, because if she knew that 1% of me, she would reject me. So instead, I give it all to her. Transparency, all my faults, all my failures. Every time I felt like I've messed up, I go to her and I say, do you still love me? And because of this love that we've defined, I know that she's going to say, yes, I still love you.
I noticed what you're saying right now and what you said in both in your emails, like your sense of identity was wrapped up first in your love of God your understanding of God, your religion, and then your love of each other. So it seems like this is true for you, that you have your full sense of self is contingent on these relationships and experiences. For me, I don't think that that's necessarily healthy, because I just think that there is supposed to be a little part of you that is for you, and not in a secretive way, in like I'm holding back from someone or I'm hiding anything or there's any, lack of transparency, but like I am the main character in my life story. And whatever happens with anyone else, with my evolving belief systems, with things that I learn or come across that like change my values or beliefs, like my autonomy and my sense of self come from myself, not from external variables, not from other people. Definitely to an extent from a spiritual source, but even that has evolved over the years, what I think and feel and believe to be true. I do think that exclusivity has a place in many people's lives. I think that it can be the authentic choice. And there's ways to exist within the ethics of polyamory and ethical non-monogamy and experience exclusivity at times. I also think that like literally biologically and experientially, there are many people who don't feel that way. And so it is constantly a pivot from their most authentic true self to choose that. You're saying that that's like the healthiest option for you, and that is what you believe is best and healthiest for everyone, for your family structure, for your life. I think that it's not necessarily true, and it's why there are thousands, if not millions of Christians who do get divorced or do end up in really unhealthy family structures or patterns of abuse or patterns of behavior, because there is hiding and there is shame for like how they authentically feel or what would be the most authentic choice. I know a couple that just moved into my neighborhood. They're major burners, went to Burning Man all the time. They were open. She was dating multiple people when he like really expressed that he wanted to marry her eventually. She moved through that phase, and then right now they're exclusive and they have a baby together and they're putting all of their attention and love on each other and that child, and it's absolutely beautiful. And she also said to me that they're very much aware that at some point down the line, there may be other things that pop up. There may be other doors that need to be opened, and that because of the love that they have, that is not contingent on them, like silencing their own, truest desires, that it actually creates more of a sense of safety for them. They feel more authentically in love with each other because it's not conditional in that way. And I get what you're saying about it being conditional, like, oh, you have to consent to this while I go do this. I don't think that that's helpful. But to some degree, like that is also what you're doing, because you're saying like, well, you have to consent to being exclusive for it to work.
And that's the essence of love, isn't it? Self-sacrifice and self, like 100% mutual exchange of one another, and saying, I will give my entire self to you gladly. And in return.
I guess that's what
but is that really possible? Like off camera, I brought up football and you lit up and you were like, let's talk about it.
Well, it's easy to talk
about. And Selena was like, here we go with this. Like, so you guys don't have all the same interests. You don't have, like, I'm sure there's things that you want to watch on TV that you have no interest in watching. Like, so when you say you're giving all of yourself, there are other needs that you have that are met by male platonic friends and met by female platonic friends. And then I would hope you guys have alone time for yourself where you do stuff that is just for you. Yeah. So how does that line up with saying you've given all of yourself? I mean, I understand, like, you've never, like, slept with anyone else. But
well, and I guess that was my question to Blaze is what makes you feel, or why do you have to, why do you feel that you have to keep a part of yourself just for yourself? Where does that come from? I can understand. I just want to hear your answer to that.
I think that's where I was saying, like, what you keep saying is that what love is for you is that it is 100%, giving 100% of yourself to the other person. And for me, like, that's not healthy. For me, like, I am safest in my own sense of like trusting my body, trusting my brain, trusting myself to take care of myself, when I do know that at the end of the day, like, I've got me, you know? And that doesn't mean that I don't develop trust and I don't develop beautiful connections with people, but like we come into this world alone. We come into this world in connection. We come into this world depending literally on a source of life that is another person. But at the end of the day, like we do die alone. Like nobody like comes through that, whatever death is, the tunnel, going into heaven, going to hell, going into the ether energetically, whatever it is, which honestly none of us like truly know. It's a solo experience. And like, I've had to really face that recently with cancer, and knowing that like, no matter how much I share with Ian, no matter he's been there with me in the hospital, like there's been many times where I've had to really face that concept of like, that is something I will go through alone. And even what I'm going through with cancer, like we are sharing that every moment and every part of it, but like, he's not in my body. It's my body. You know, he's not in my brain. And so we're there to support each other and to share in each other's journey. But like, we ultimately are both the stars of our own shows. and we're there to like, you know, rock it out. But like, there's no like,
instead of mutually sacrificing, we're mutually encouraging each other to get more of what we want and more of what would bring joy to ourselves.
And sometimes that leads to like beautiful togetherness, and sometimes it leads to space. And I think that that's like beautiful.
I think space is okay. There's a big difference, I think, between me time and I don't want to be around you. Kind of like I need my own thing time. Like not. But
I would argue that that's actually really healthy to say like there are times where I don't want to be around you. And
we say that to each other.
Yeah,
that's not, we're not just like, oh, we're just always together. There's times where we're like, okay, we just need a little space. And that's okay. But that doesn't diminish, that doesn't take away from my devotion to him. I'm still committed to him. I'm still going to give of myself sexually to him. Like that doesn't take anything away from what's in here. It's just, okay, we're two human beings. We've spent so much time together. I think we just need a little space, but it doesn't mean it's not an opportunity for me to seek out any other sort of intimacy with someone else, whether that be emotionally or sexually or anything like that.